peace in the house. Our house is quiet. I never thought, you would miss that, but you do.
And, for me, I look at my 3 sons as they were already better men than me.
At the funeral where Mr. Collins said, make more good than evil come out of this situation. And I think this is just almost like my duty to make more good than evil come out of this situation.
Turning tragedy into triumph. And that's what we're trying to do.
So, when people do leave us or leave our presence or our home and everything, it's, I love you.
I have hope that I will see them again.
First, we walk you through the timeline of the escape, the manhunt, and the failures that led to the loss of 5 innocent lives. Behind every tragedy, there is unimaginable grief, a family shattered, a community forever changed. Now, for the first time, you'll hear from the Collins family, along with one of the victim's closest friends. They talked exclusively with our Aniele Ruiz. This is the part of the story that's more than what happened. It's about who was lost and how their loved ones are keeping their memory alive.
Let's talk a little bit about the project that you're kind of spearheading.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so last interview we did, Ms. Collins talked about her greatest fear was that her family would be forgotten. And that was something that really resonated with me. And so I was speaking with a family member who is a lobbyist, and he told me about lobbying, and I was like, hey, that sounds like something I can do. So it was over spring break. I decided, I'll give it a shot, right? So I went to the Capitol, introduced myself, kind of told the story of the Collins family and who they are as a family, and just how much of an impact they had on my life and the community of honestly Texas. And yeah, so went in, and I couldn't think of a better way to honor the Collins family and honor Miss Collins' wishes than to memorialize her family.
And so what do you want to do?
Yeah, so we have a rider into the budget already of, and with this money, we're trying to get a monument for the Collins family.
Why take this task on yourself?
Well, honestly, it was at the funeral where Mr. Collins said, make more good than evil come out of this situation. And I think this is just almost like my duty to make more good than evil come out of this situation.
So let's talk about how you're involved with the family. Who did you meet, and who was one of your best friends?
Yeah, so I played baseball with Waylon. We from the first day when I joined the team, I was always hanging out with Waylon. We were infielders, so we'd always practice together. We'd talk, and my senior year when I was on varsity, me and Waylon, we would sit next to each other on the bus. It was honestly some of the best times.
So when you first met him, what was going through your mind? What was some of your first thoughts that you remember?
I always remember him laughing. Like no matter what you say, no matter what you did, Waylon was always there laughing. And that was just who he was. He was a happy person. He was a great guy. And yeah.
I mean, your relationship from their relationship, very different.
Yes.
And
yeah.
What kind of friend was he? What are one of the memories that you're like, oh my God, I'll never forget this?
Yeah, I mean, we were sitting around here in the kitchen earlier, but talking about this, when we would all the varsity players would umpire at Tomball Little League, and I just remember umpiring games with Waylon and just seeing the way he would interact with those little kids. It was awesome. He was just a great guy.
When all of this happened, could you believe it?
It was so surreal. I mean, it didn't feel real. It was, I thought it was some sort of like sick prank or something like that. I was at a concert when I got the text, and I was just, you know, I just broke down in tears. It was honestly one of the worst days of my life.
This changed your life forever?
Yes, yeah, 100%. And I think it changes everyone, like the whole community's life. You know, Waylon, his family, they had such a big impact on this community, and yeah, it's just a shame.
What is your hope that people take from this memorial?
Yeah, I hope that people see and recognize a couple of things. How amazing of a family this was, and still is, and I also hope that people can see the monument and understand that, you know, bad things are going to happen in life, and it's your reaction to them that can really make a difference. And like Mr. Collins said, making more good than evil come out of the situation. What
gives you strength to do this? I mean, you're a college student. I feel like you could be out partying, out doing other stuff.
I think a lot, like I said earlier, I kind of feel as if it's my duty. Waylon was such a good friend, such a good teammate to me, and yeah, it's the least I can do.
Do you miss him?
Of course, yeah.
What do you miss the most about him?
That's hard. Just his joy, honestly. It was awesome. We had a couple classes together. It was awesome to just go into the class and see Waylon, his face light up, him start laughing, and just some of the best times.
What do you hope that legislators take from all of this?
I really hope that people can work together and support this. It's a great cause. It's a great family, and with the money for the memorial, we can really do a lot of good with it.
Do you have an idea of where you guys want it yet, or are you kind of still working out?
We're still kind of ironing out the details and all that stuff.
And then as far as the feedback you've gotten from some of the people at the state legislature, what have they told you?
Everyone's been super receptive to it. Dr. Oliverson has been a huge help. We've spoken with the lieutenant governor's office, the governor's office, and then some more representatives in the area. Everyone's been super helpful in getting this thing going along.
How much are you hoping to raise for this?
It's in the budget. We got $1.6 million submitted into the budget, and what we're hoping for is through the legislative process to get it approved by both the House and the Senate.
Has this been a new experience for you to explore? I feel like you're going down a different rabbit hole.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I'd never been to the Capitol before, and so, you know, just walking in there, it's a big building. It probably took me like 30 minutes just to find their offices and all that stuff. But once I was in there, it was great. I could just walk in, introduce yourself, kind of tell them about who the Collins family was, and tell them their story, and everyone was really receptive.
I guess as you're walking through those halls, what was going through your mind? What were you thinking?
I was really nervous. Not for me, but it was something that I really wanted that I want to really accomplish, and just I'd be really disappointed for the community of Tomball and the Collins family if this doesn't get approved. Ultimately, it's not what I want, but I really think it would be great for this to be a place where people that people enjoy, people come and have fun and understand the gravity of the situation, and it just be a place for people to enjoy and for the community to enjoy.
Let's talk a little bit about this project that he started.
Maddox's father, Brian, reached out to Chris. Chris then told me, and then I actually had a phone conversation with Brian, Maddox's dad, telling us about the project and everything. And first I was just kind of blown away and honored, you know, that someone would want to do that. And then also, you know, it's really neat to see our younger generation starting to step up and do really cool things. So that's when I first heard about it. And again, I was just, like I said, blown away, kind of honored, you know. It's a cool feeling, you know, that to know that there's still people out there that just have goodness, genuine goodness in their hearts, and they have love for other people. So, you know, the overwhelming love and support we've gotten from everybody has just been, you can't even start to put a number and on it, you know, or it humbles you a little bit, you know, just to know that there's so many people out there that still care, you know, when you feel like this world is just so evil and stuff like that. But, you know, the community's really stepped behind us, and for people to think of us like this it's an honor. It feels really good.
Let's talk about how has it been for you guys? I know y'all are almost coming up on 3 years.
Yeah, we lost our oldest boy of 2, my father, and my brother and sister-in-law's 3 boys. It never gets easier, but every year it's a little bit different, I guess. You know, you never stop thinking about them, but you have to, I don't ever use the term move on. It's more or less move forward. We have to keep moving forward. And that's what my dad has always instilled in us. He's like, keep going. Like, don't sit back. And there was a time for mourning, but then there's a time to move forward and fulfill, you know, our legacy, their legacy, and honor them and the way we live our lives, the way he taught us to, you know.
And let's talk a little bit about your dad. How was he? What kind of legacy did he leave behind?
Oh, my dad? He was a tough man, stern, but he cared and he loved a lot. You know, he taught us right from wrong. He was very well respected, not only in our community, in the church, in his company. He was just, he wasn't afraid to step out there and do something. Even though as an owner of the company, he wasn't afraid to get out there and get his hands dirty. And he gained respect from people that way. And when he said something, he did it, and he meant it. And people, you know, that's just how people thought of him, you know, and he just was well respected by everybody. And he was, you know, we respected him. You know, he taught us that. It's real easy to lose respect, but it's hard to gain it. It takes a while to gain it, so.
How would you like for people to remember your dad?
How would I like for people to remember my dad? Honorable. He was very honorable. He told you how it was, and some people take that in a negative way, but he told it in a way of teaching and love, if that makes sense. He didn't really sugarcoat a lot of stuff, but he was very cautious with his words. You know, he wasn't going to hurt anybody's feelings. But again, that's why people respected him, and they loved him because of that. Because he was just a true, genuine individual, and just a tough guy. Like he was just, and I don't mean tough like just mean kind of tough, but he was a stern, tough guy, and people liked that.
Now let's talk about your son,
Bryson.
Yes.
Oh, Bryson. Bryson was a character. Bryson lived with his full heart. He really loved to help people. I remember when we had an aunt and uncle who their house flooded during Harvey. and also tax day floods, unfortunately. And I think it was the second one that he could not wait to get over there and help them rip carpet out. We have pictures of him with carpet over his shoulder as a 10-year-old walking in and out of the house, and he just couldn't wait to get over there. You know, I always taught him never to be a bully, but also don't let bullies bully you or other people. And since everything happened, we've heard multiple times where he's stood up for kids. Kids came forward and told us, Bryson stood up for me. And he didn't let other people bully people. Because he knew that he just had a heart of gold. He loved people. And that's why we have a thing in September that we do for around his birthday called Bryson's Blessings. And it's just do something, we have a little card and just do something simple for somebody else. Maybe it's buy the person food in the drive-thru in front of you. Maybe it's deliver cookies to your next door elderly neighbor. You know, so, but that's the kind of, Bryson loved doing that for people. He did. He was just, he looked out for people, even though he was only 12 years old. He loved with his whole heart. He loved to play sports. He always had a ball in his hand, whether it was a football, basketball, baseball. He always wanted to be around somebody. He kind of took that after me, like life of the party kind of kid. Was always like, who's coming over this weekend? What are we doing? You know, are we going somewhere? Can I have friends spend the night? Can so-and-so come over? Can I go over to this person's house? He always wanted to be with his friends. He always wanted to have a good time. So, I mean, just a genuine kid that loved with his whole heart. September is his birthday month. He was born on September 6, 2010. And my wife's birthday is 2 days later. So he was in the NICU, and he came out of the NICU on her birthday. And she was like, it's the greatest gift I've ever gotten. So September we do Bryson's Blessings. And again, it's just, it doesn't have to, it's the whole month of September, but it doesn't have to be in September. You can do whatever you want. There's a Facebook page for it, Bryson's Blessings. And so we do that. That's one thing we do to live on his legacy. Our neighborhood was really, really nice. There's a not really a park, just an open field clubhouse area down the road from our house. And me and him would go down there and throw the baseball. I'd hit pop flies to him, whatever football he did. I actually got a little mini strength and conditioning football camp guy to come down there and train a couple kids in the neighborhood, you know, twice a week, one summer. So we were there a lot. And our neighborhood actually asked if it was okay if they could rename the park after him, or rename that field after him. So that's kind of neat. You know, we drive by it every day on our way to church and home from church. We drive by that sign every Sunday. So, you know, just little things like that. You know, the foundation we're starting, we want all their memories to live on, you know, and the things that we're going to do with this foundation. So.
Is that kind of how you guys are able to, like you said earlier, move forward, is by keeping their memory alive?
Yes, I mean, you have to, you know. There's not a day goes by that we don't think of them. And they're all their personalities, from my dad all down to the boys, like, that's what kind of keeps you moving forward, because I know all of them wouldn't want us to stop. That's just not in our blood. You know, they wouldn't let us stop. And they would probably get a little perturbed if we just sat here and didn't do anything. Not necessarily do anything for them, just like keep going with your life, you know, live on, you know, and so that kind of helps us.
Has it been difficult though to keep going? And I'm sure if you had a house with full of kids in there.
Yeah, there's days, and there's things that trigger you all the time, you know, so there's little memories. I mean, it doesn't take much I have, you know, close to an hour drive, 45-minute drive to work, and there's just random days where tears for 20, 30 minutes just driving, because something will remind me of him or them or something like that, you know. So yeah, there's tough days, you know, all their birthdays are tough. The holidays are real tough. they're getting, like I said, I don't like to say getting easier to deal with, but you start dealing with him more and more, you know how to deal with him. So, but at first that was because our family was cut down by 5. We went down to, we went down to 10 from 15. So our family gatherings just with my mom and dad and us 3 boys and all our kids, they're difficult because it's not the same, and it won't be the same. So we've done different things to try to like just change it up here and there, and it seems to help a little bit, but again, they were the same.
I think one of the things that stood out for me from the funeral was the faith that you guys have. Does that help also?
Oh, tremendously. I mean, our faith is everything. I would tell people all the time, because they would say, how are you doing this? How are you getting up every day? I'm like, it's not me. That's like, it's our faith in the Lord. He's the one that we put our trust in and our faith in, and he's the one that helps us keep moving. But other than that, I believe in my heart that he has used this community to lift us up. And I would tell people all the time, I feel like we're just being carried on a cloud by this community, and God is giving them the strength and the courage to continue to move us. At first, we weren't moving ourselves. We definitely weren't. And, you know, having that faith in him is, you know, we have on our website, our slogan or our catchphrase is, it says, turning tragedy into triumph. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we feel like the Lord has wanted us to do, is turn this tragedy into triumph. So, but yeah, I mean, we have deep roots in our faith, bestowed on us by our family, grandparents, my father, my mother, which has helped us get through this whole thing.
Was it normal for your dad to take the kids like that? Like to go out with them and go?
Yeah, no, he's taken them before. He would, I mean, a lot of the times it was me or one of my brothers going with him, but it was summer and he was just like, let me get these boys out of the house, you know, so, but he's taken them before, and just, as far as we all knew and as far as he knew, like, it was all clear. They had told him months prior, we're done looking, we believe he's moved on. So, and my dad had been up there multiple times by himself, with my uncle, with my grandfather, other people. He'd been up there multiple times before, since they said that. And so it wasn't even a thought in his mind. And we don't believe it was, because if it was, we know him, he would have never taken him up there. He wouldn't have gone up there.
What was I gonna say? Do you still remember whenever you guys got that call and what was going through your mind?
I remember the whole day, honestly. I had just started a brand new job. I wasn't even 2 weeks in yet. I was in the middle of my 2nd week. And I knew they left and everything. But the first I heard it, I didn't think anything all day because it's just they're there. But then I called my brother. I think I tried to call my dad. He didn't answer. And then Chris called and he said, yeah, we were trying to get a hold of Dad and the boys all day. No one's answering their phones. And as soon as he said that, I just felt something drop. I was just like, and I actually was in real estate still at the time. And I was leaving work to go show them some houses. And at this point, I'm in a full-blown panic. And I actually had to tell my clients at the time, I was like, I gotta go. And so, but by that time, people had gone over to the house and stuff, and up at the ranch, and no sign. So once I heard no sign, you know, your mind just starts wandering, and you start freaking out. So, but yeah, get home, and by this time everybody's kind of aware. I go pick up my mom. She doesn't know anything, but I don't want anybody to tell her. So, and take her back to my house, and then we got the call to come over here to my brother and sister-in-law's house. And that's when we got here. One of our good friends who's a detective, police officer and stuff like that, he was already on everything, and he just kind of told us they're gone. So it was, and at that point it was just like, you didn't, it was just unreal. Like, you didn't know what to feel, you were numb, you just were like trying to process, like, what did I just hear? You know, you're angry, you're sad, you're confused, there's so many questions. You're just, what do I do? What do we do? So.
Did you ever blame anybody?
No.
Like the state or anybody?
No. We had heard things. I don't know what's all really true about that they felt like he might have been there that day or the day before, breaking into another house or something. And of course we're like, well, my dad has been in contact with him the entire time when he did, because he was right there on our place. So he was talking to locals, officials, and police, and whatever. And we just didn't know why they didn't say anything. Like, just a phone call says, hey, just FYI, we're not sure. If he would have got that phone call, I kind of believe he wouldn't have gone up there. Pretty sure he wouldn't have. If he did, he wouldn't have taken the boys, you know. So we just didn't understand why there wasn't a phone call made. I mean.
Or even the prison system, like.
Yeah.
Like the escape, it was so odd, the whole thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't have all the details, and I'm not one to point blame on anyone, you know. We have had people reach out and just tell us they're sorry, and we forgive them because nobody does it intentionally. The only one that did it intentionally was that guy. He's the only one that did it intentionally. So the Lord teaches us to forgive. And that's what you're supposed to do. As hard as it is, you have to do your best to forgive. But it's hard. It's hard.
Life will never be the same.
Yeah, no, it's never going to be the same. You know, and I'm so sorry doesn't bring him back. But again, like, I know there was no person except for him that did anything on purpose. So try to put yourself in their situation. Like, what if there was a mistake made? What if it was me? I'd want forgiveness too. So.
Wow, that's a really big heart.
It's made by the Lord. Because if it was just me and my flesh, yeah, I'd probably be really bad.
Yeah.
But no, it's just.
So now you move forward.
We move forward. We don't move on. We just move forward.
Move forward and remember them.
Yes.
And keep their memory alive, right? Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. And they're all big enough characters that I know it will. They will, and it'll keep living on through all of us, through our foundation, through the things we're going to do for people that have gone through similar situations like us. And that's kind of our goal now, is to minister to and help people that have had tragic loss of a child or a spouse or a sibling. You know, we're just getting started. We've had a couple of fundraisers we've done really good at, and we're trying to build up that nest to where we can really make an impact in people's lives. And then also, do some scholarships in their name for children or for kids trying to move on with their career or their athletic career. You know, my dad was really big into trade stuff. Like, this world's always going to need plumbers, electricians. And so he always told us, if any of my grandkids don't want to go to college, my grandsons, but they want to do a trade, they want to do something, as far as a trade, he'd pay for the entire school. He goes, because we need tradesmen in this world. And so with Colin's 8 scholarships, and that's the scholarship arm of Collins Strong Foundation. And Lone Star College, they put together a Mark Collins Field of Dream trade scholarship.
That's amazing.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
How do you feel with all these organizations and like different people reaching out saying that they're doing stuff for you guys?
It's great, you know. Again, you just feel, you know, you feel blessed that the community, these organizations that just want to help in any way to help their legacy live on, to help comfort us, you know, like just little things here and there. I mean, we weren't worried about buying paper towels and stuff like that. And my garage was full of paper towels, with toilet paper for days. Because when that's going on, you don't think about that kind of stuff. But we were amazed how the community rallied around us. It was unspeakable. It was crazy.
Misty, let's talk a little bit about your 3 sons. How were they?
They were full of energy, full of love. They were a handful. I mean, but they were normal kids. They loved to play. They had friends. They were involved in sports and church. Just, you're all around just good kids, fun, full of life, challenging, of course, too, but just great kids. I mean, I loved them, you know, and they just, it's kind of hard to put in just like one word, like, or just a little bit about how much they meant to me, but just love. I mean, I guess I just felt loved, and they taught me to be a better person. I know when I became a mom, you just want to be the best version of yourself for them. And that's what I take. I just wanted to be a better person for them and love them the way they needed to be loved. And they loved me in return. And I think they just made me a better person, to be honest with you. Being their mom was an honor. It was an honor. It still is. It still is. So.
Did they love sports?
They all 3. Well, our oldest played everything. He ended up focusing on football and baseball, and then eventually just ending up with baseball. Our middle son started with everything also, and ended up more with football. He didn't like to be singled out, like baseball kind of singles you out when you make a mistake. And then our youngest tried everything. He was very cerebral and very not competitive and very just loving and just like, so he ended up with golf, and that was his thing, and he just really flourished with that. And so it was interesting because he tried to do all the things his big brother did, but golf was his thing. So they all kind of found their own little sport that they loved to play, which was good because then they didn't have, compete. Yeah. The older 2 kind of competed at, because they were playing the same thing, but then eventually when they went into their own thing, we could just support it and there was not so much competition. So.
What do you miss the most about them?
The laughter, the hugs, just seeing them grow, and just all like the milestones that, I see their friends hitting, I miss. Mainly it's the noise in the house. Their house is quiet. I never thought, you would miss that, but you do. I miss sitting down around the dinner table, talking with them, just being a part of their lives, their friends. Their friends are still here, they still come, but just like going out, and we still go to the sports games, so we still have that. But just the laughter, the love, the family, it's just, we went from all of that to nothing really quickly, and so it's hard. It's hard.
Difficult.
Yeah, it's quiet. The one thing I will say that has kept us going is their friends and our friends and their friends. They show up and they're here and they check in on us, and we go to all the games, and their friends Snap, my husband, and all the things that they do, and they text us and check on us, and so it's helped us to move and move forward. And they're really good about that, like just being a part of our lives and not letting us be alone, you know.
How do you keep moving forward when you lose all your babies?
At first, I mean, definitely it's our faith. I mean, I know in that moment it was devastation, but I know my faith held me together because I know I would see them again. And it's hard, and there's hard days, and I'm not saying I don't get angry sometimes, but I have to go back to that faith because I know God's good, and I know that they loved him, and I know that he wrapped them up and took them with him, and I feel that, and I know it, and it gives me a peace that I can't explain, but it's my faith. It has to be. It's my faith. That's probably number one. Our community and our friends. I mean, literally, I couldn't. I'm just amazed at everything that they've done and continue to do, and stories that I continue to hear of what, you know, of honoring us, like this story, you know, that we're talking about today. It's just, I would say faith, community, friends, and that's what's gotten me through.
Your kids were young and they didn't live such a long life, but yet they made such an impact.
Mm-hmm. You know, as a parent, you're like, you just want them to be good citizens, you know, good kids. And after they passed, just hearing the stories of how they've touched each one of them, you know, even Bryson and Mark too, and then my three boys, just how they touched people's lives and the stories. It's like, oh man, we were doing something right. They were good kids in our community, you know. Just hearing all these stories about how they touched people in different ways, and they were all three different, but it's you know, it touches my heart. It's like I know they made an impact in the short time they were here, and that's special to me. I love. I mean, it's just very honoring and very. I'm trying to think of the word. Just.
Makes you feel good as a parent.
Yeah, like I did something right. Yeah, validated, I guess is what I'm trying. Validate, you know, some validation of what we were doing.
And so, hearing what Madison wants to do for you guys, when he first told you guys what was going through your mind? I
was just, I was like, it just touched me because that was another thing. Is like, you know, Waylon had touched him, and he conveyed that to us, and. You know, I mean, these are the stories that I hear, and just how they touched their lives, and how words that even that I've said and that words that my husband have said has ministered to people, or made a difference in their lives. And I know he had talked about how I had said that one of my biggest fears as a mom is that your kids will be forgotten, and he took that and went with it and is moving forward with it, is amazing. And then that he took my husband's words of, you know, love will always defeat evil, and, you know, turning tragedy into triumph. Like, he took that and he's living that way. And it's like, I would do anything to have my kids again, but to take this tragedy and that there's good coming from it, and that it's changed people's lives, it helps me move forward too. That would be another thing that would help us move forward. Mm-hmm. So,
I know I'm sure it's in 2 months. Yeah, it's coming up. Difficult?
Very. It's difficult. It's always different, and different things hit me differently. It's funny. It's you know, I think I'll be prepared to go into that day. You know, 'cause I obviously go to therapy, and, you know, we we think about these days, the days, you know, before they come, and what might we feel. And, you know, I never know, you know, it could be a cardinal landing on a tree, that, you know, it can be anything. And it's really special moments on those days. There's some, you know, a song comes on and it's a hard moment. But learning how to grieve and learning how to talk about it has really helped me, because we cry, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to laugh, and we tell stories. It's just, you never know. I mean, you just don't know. Like, but learning how to grieve has really helped both of us. Just talking about, you know, laughing, crying, just being open and honest with how we're feeling, and helping each other out. And we just, again, our family and friends are always around us and checking on us, and, you know, just want them to be honored and remembered, and for who they were and how they lived, more than the tragedy. But, you know, I want them to remember for who they were. So, we try to honor that.
I know that you said that one of your biggest fears was that your kids will be forgotten, right? And that's kind of what spearheaded this.
Right.
I guess as a parent, to see another child who's in college and is supposed to have girlfriends and going out and stuff like that.
I know. It's just, it's incredible. It's incredible. I know, I hear stories after story of lives that have been touched by this story, and just, it's so honoring. Another thing that has really stood out to me and my husband is our kids had good friends. They were surrounded by good people. And that, as a parent, it's just awesome to see, like, they had really good friends, you know. It's very meaning. I mean, it's just so meaningful, because they're a part of us now. I mean, they're family. I mean, our family has actually grown to this whole big community, and these kids they're just amazing. I mean, amazing kids that we've gotten to know more even. I mean, some were living here, but practically, but even just more that we, you know, that weren't here every day. But it's just, it's neat to see.
But I feel like also this tragedy, you know, not only hurt you guys, but I can see it also hurt, you know, even their friends. Like, it really, really hurt them. It really scarred them, I guess.
Yeah, one thing that really I saw a lot in the days after the tragedy, kids were just here. Kids were just all over the place. And they just wanted to be here, and they wanted to be together. And one thing that really spoke to me is that, you know, Waylon's friends were about to go to college, which is a stressful time. Carson's friends were, you know, about to be juniors in high school. You know, our young one was about to go to junior high. And one thing that really, like, talked to my heart was that these kids need help and learn how to grieve, and these kids are facing tragedies so early in life, and, like, grief is hard to deal with as a parent, and my heart went out to them, because I was just thinking, oh, they're just teenagers, they'll get over it, they'll move on. But these kids, they needed to learn how to grieve, and my heart was really with them. And that's one of our, you know, passions of our foundation, is to help, you know, people that have suffered tragic loss. And that's one group that stood out to me, was these teenagers. And I really wanted, you know, our doors were open, and they're always open, and we told them we're always here for you, and pouring into their lives helped us a lot. That is another thing that's helped us, is pouring into these kids' lives, because we're like, we're still here for you. Come here anytime. We'll talk to you. And, you know, and they all, you know, a lot of them have great parents that understand that too. But that was a group that I really had a heart for, and that we've had a heart for. But in helping them, I think they help us. You know what I mean? Like, the love that we get from them, it just keeps us going. And we just really had a heart for their friends. And you know, like we've said, our doors are always open for them. So when we sat down to build our family and our home, and the reason we bought this place was we wanted our kids to have their kids. We wanted this to be the spot so we could be in their lives, and that's what it was. And so when it continued to be after they were gone, it just touched our hearts, because they're our kids too. You know, it's, as you say, it always takes a village, but it does. And like, I hope that we're in their lives, and like their parents were in our lives, our kids' lives. I mean, I feel like our kids had tons of, you know, parents and adults that cared about them, and it's helped us to continue forward, because we feel their love continuing in them and us, and I think they feel the same, because they feel a comfort here when they come and visit us.
Is it difficult seeing like Madison, like he was going to the same college that your son was going to go to, and is it difficult?
It is. It's difficult. I won't say it's not. There's times, you know, people will walk out and I'll just break down. I have those moments a lot. And we've kind of learned each other. My husband will hold me and I hold him, and you know, sometimes we'll say what triggered you or what, you know, and some we just hold each other. But it is hard, you know, you see life going on for other kids, and you know my kid would be there, even just going to the college football games, because we still go and be involved, and that we went through all the high school, we go through the high school games. I mean, because they've honored our kids. They retired Waylon's jersey. They do the number 5 for Carson, for the football team, and it's just like, it's hard, but you just, I guess you work through it, and you know, it's kind of like waves, I guess you've heard. A lot of people say grief is like a wave, and at first they're really, really big and can knock you down, and then they kind of spread out, and it's just learning how to deal with them and handle them when they come. But I won't say it's not hard. It's hard, but they're so good at like making us feel like their mom and dad too, that they're like, come, you know, we get invited to weddings, to, you know, they're not quite, there's some getting there, but like, but just anything they invite us to, like they were like, I'd come to our graduation, you know, and those things are really special to us. But yeah, it can be hard to, when you walk away.
I was going to ask you, do you ever blame like the state or the jail or anything, like, you know, because it's hard not to.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions. I have to work through. I don't know a ton of the details of what happened to them, but I do have questions on why the community wasn't contacted when they thought he was next door, or why wasn't someone standing at the gate going, hey, can we just walk y'all in, because we had this break-in the day before, just make sure everything's safe. Like, nobody knew anything, and it's like we just felt so comfortable. I mean, like, I didn't even think twice that day. They left that morning. I mean, they left out of the driveway. I didn't think anything. They're gonna go fish, they'll be back by 4 and we'll go to dinner. Like, it just, I thought that guy was long gone, and kind of, I felt like the community was led to believe that. But I just wish things had been handled differently that day, and how we got out in the first place, all that, it's questioning, you know, and I know there's reports and stuff, but I guess I can't just dwell in that, because I just have to move forward. I mean, there's nothing I can change. I just have to move forward, and, you know, there's nothing really I can do. I just hope that there is change to how he got out, that they don't get out again. And I think they did quite quickly after that happened, but and you know, that it doesn't happen again to somebody else. And I've seen like, even when the recent one got out at the mental hospital, I'm just like, why does this keep happening? Like, why can't we? Triggering? Yeah, it's very triggering. And then it's very, very triggering when they escape, even just not even in Texas, but so.
Yeah. You just want your babies to be remembered.
Yeah. I want them to be remembered, and I want to give back how they were, and they brought joy and they brought love, and I want to bring that to our community. Whatever this may end up being, I hope it gives back to the community in some way, if it's just a place a family can gather and have a seat on a bench in a park. I mean, family is very important to us. As you can see, family was a big thing, and we would want it to benefit the community and give back to the community, and be a place of remembrance for them. So, I mean, things that we honored, like, family and togetherness and love and community, we want that to be a part of it.
How was your dad?
So I worked for my dad. My dad was a very strict man growing up, but fun, very outdoorsy, took us on stuff like that to go hunting and fishing. And he was kind of no nonsense, but just a very, very, very hardworking man, for his family, for, our family's business, and even at home, just for us. So he was just a good, honest, hardworking man.
How do you want people to remember your dad?
My dad was very selfless, and he was very fair to everyone except for probably himself. Like, he always came last. In our business, with helping other people, helping people in our church. I remember multiple times he was helping widows with their water well, or something leaked in their attic or something like that. And I would tag along sometimes with him, which I thought was great. Even as a little kid that didn't even know which screwdriver was which. But he just was always the first one to volunteer and to, help people out with projects, that he maybe had a little bit of know-how with, and stuff like that. So he just was a very giving man. And, he gave of his time, his blood, sweat, and tears, literally. And he was very much a protector. So that's kind of what when I think about Dad, those are all the things that come to mind.
What was one of the last things that your dad ever told you?
Oh, gosh. Trying to think right now. Well, actually, him and I were looking at some property together. It was one of the last conversations we had, because I was supposed to go with them that day. And then my middle son had decided he was going to go, so there wasn't room in the truck. And we talked about, we'll come up there next week and go look at that property and stuff like that. But he and I had mostly business talks. We always had the business hat on. And, for a while it was like I didn't get to be a son anymore. I was always, an employee. But there were some other events in our lives that happened that changed the perspective for him and, myself. And so we were able to put on and take off those hats, as needed, and developed a very, very strong relationship together. So we kind of shared everything with each other, and it was a different role, I guess you could say. I had always grown up, that I'm not your friend, I'm your father type of thing, and at that end, it was a very close friendship, between a father and a son.
Wow, so it must have been difficult to lose, your friend, also your dad, and...
It was. Dad and I would spend a ton of time at our company, just kind of walking around talking, going, hey, we need to do this and do that. And you don't realize what you're missing until that's gone. I knew he was retiring at the end of that year, but he would still be available. And to just go in there and he's just gone is extremely difficult. I mean, my office is his old office now. I sit at his desk in his chair every day. So yeah, there's some tough days that take a lot of compartmentalizing to get through the day and just to get through your work week.
Let's talk about your babies.
Okay.
How were they?
Oh, they were red-blooded little boys. I say, the older two were not little boys anymore, and they were characters. My oldest son was a lot like me, so naturally he and I clashed a little bit, but there was a standard to be held there, and and I probably was a little hard on him, like it was for me, but really a great young man, pretty goofy, had a very infectious laugh, was always the one that wanted to just kind of make light of a situation, which he gets from me, kind of that inappropriate humor, but just to break the tension and stuff like that. And he just was that kid that everyone wanted to be around, and enjoyed being around. And both of his brothers thought he hung the moon as well. Our middle son, Carson, was a little quieter growing up, was a little less sure of himself and everything, but he had grown into his own, and literally, had outgrown his older brother and was living in the gym, preparing for football for his junior year and everything, but a very tender-hearted young man, not to be confused with soft by any means, because you did not want to get on his bad side, because it was he would have a lot to say at that point. And but he was a very he was sensitive to situations and to people's feelings and everything. And Hudson was just a sweet, innocent boy. He if there was any argument going on, he wanted it to stop immediately and would just tell us, hey, stop arguing, or whatever. But just an innocent soul. Loved everybody, loved giving everybody big hugs, and things of that sort. But was extremely smart, was a very talented golfer, and at a young age, which surprised me because I don't play that sport very much. But he was just a very sweet kid, and they all three were just very respectful. We had a lot of people come to us and say, like, it's before everything happened and then after our tragedy, saying that they were just amazed at how respectful they were, and how they could hold a conversation with their friends, parents and everything. And that meant a lot. That meant a whole lot. That weighs heavy, in our family. So, they were just good guys, good dudes, all three of them.
How would you like for them to be remembered?
I want to be remembered just the way they were, and, how they treated others. I'm not sure that anyone really has anything. I'm sure there is somebody that has something ill to say about them, some dumb high school thing or something like that. But as a description of their character, everyone knew that they were just good guys, that cared for others, that encouraged others, that celebrated in others' victories, not just their own. And they did. And, that's what I like to see them, how I would like to see them remembered, forever, and just how to treat other people, how to respect other people. And and just with love, and guys don't talk about love and stuff like that much. And I would tell them, like, there's been circumstances in my life and things that have happened in my life, I was like, it's okay to tell people you love them. It's okay to tell your buddies. I was like, I tell my best friends that, hey, I love you. And it's not weird. I was like, you care for that person. And after everything happened, that got ramped up because, I remember them leaving this driveway and never got to see him again. And so, when people do leave us or leave our presence or our home and everything, I love you. I want them to convey, like the boys did, you're an important part of our life.
Going back to that day, could you believe it?
When I got the news, I was just kind of putting things together, and all afternoon, I should say, I was putting everything together, and it was very evident something was off. For none of them to be answering their phones, and not being able to get in any kind of contact with any of them, even though we know cell service, or I know cell service is spotty on that ranch. Something was off. And when my wife turned around and looked at me, and there's something to say about, a woman's and a mother's intuition, when she turned around and said, something's not right, something's not good. That's when I was like, I know. And that was hours before we actually got the phone call, that they had passed. There was a lot of shock. Obviously you're going to go in shock when something like that happens. It's just, for a mother and father to lose all of their children in such a manner. That's just something that doesn't happen, in the modern age, and it did to us. So, of course, afterwards, it was shock is just the only word I know to use at this point. I was just very numb and just in a fog. But we had mentioned to each other in the days passing when we were upstairs and just laying in bed together, holding each other and holding hands and just, and just deep despair and grief. We even said out loud, like, we can't wallow in this. We didn't let the boys do that when it didn't go their way, or they lost a game or broke up with a girlfriend or anything like that. We were like, no, you can't we're not going to do that because life does go on. And, of course you're going to think about it and process it, but you can't just sit here. And so we made a good effort for that, during that time. And there was also that pull in me to be strong for their friends who were all around here. And I'm seeing these, young kids that have just graduated are looking forward to college, and they're grieving very, very hard. And I understand what that moment is like when you're just trying to grasp onto something that, is a part of them. And to us, we looked at their friends the same way, that they were a part of them too. They would use their expressions and words that we would hear around here that teenagers use, and that was comforting. That was a part of them. And so you kind of go into a role of caretaker also, even in the midst of your grief. So.
Did you ever blame anybody, the state, the prison?
There's no denying that mistakes were made. I don't have every single detail, but there was things that I do know where protocols weren't followed to the T, and so yeah, there has to be blame on someone, and of course, it's their job to transport these criminals back and forth and everything in a safe manner, for the public safety. And there was a failure to do that at that point. So yeah, there has to be, of course there's blame from me on how this happened. It was not a blameless event at all.
I asked your brother, and he said he forgave. Do you forgive? Or
I'm working on it. I don't know if I'll get there. I mean, I'll just be straight honest. I know that's what we're called to do as Christians and everything, but it's a really tough process for me. So it's, you know, they were robbed of their lives, and we feel robbed of a life we were supposed to have. You know, we were robbed of being grandparents and having our big family Christmases. I mean, family was the most important thing to us, and taking care of each other and being there for each other. And, you know, for me, I look at my 3 sons as they were already better men than me, and I knew they were going to be better men than me. And hopefully that's because they learned from my mistakes, you know, and I was able to help guide them through that. And they were already on that path. I could see it clear as day. And so, you know, not getting to see the fruits of them as adults and where they go and who they impact further on throughout their lives, because I know they would have, it's really hard, you know. So I can't say that I have forgiven, you know, and that's something that I need to work on, and that's something inside me that has to be worked on, because I need to get to that point, because forgiveness is not so much for the one being forgiven, it's for the forgiver. It's you releasing that and letting that go. And I know I need to get there, so.
How do you guys move forward? How do you continue?
You know, a friend of mine said, you know, it's minute by minute, and it's hour by hour, you know, and you build up to day by day. And sometimes you get knocked back down to minute by minute. And I know my wife, Misty, really impressed and inspired me. I mean, literally had to grab me by both arms and kind of shake me, which I'm a little bit larger person than she is. And, you know, grabbed me and shook me and said, look at me, I'm on my own 2 feet. I'm standing here when most mothers would not be able to do this. And, you know, her showing that strength to me in that moment, you know, really kind of brought me back together and was like, okay, you know, I can do this. And there's extremely hard days, you know, and there's days where it's just all over you and you can't get away from it, no matter what you do. And, you know, it's just a process, you know. We go to counseling and therapy, and that's been a great blessing to us, to be able to talk through this, because you know, I had lost a best friend and never really knew the grieving process before, and, you know, and how to process it. And when you're grieving multiples, you know, it's almost your brain can't process all at once. You know, we would take time. I would take time in my head, and I'm thinking about Hudson a lot, and then it would be, you know, Waylon, and then Carson, and then even Bryson before I got to process my father. It's just, I guess, how our brains operate, or how mine does. So.
Difficult with the anniversary coming up as well?
Always difficult. It's not a day that is celebrated in any way. It's just a day that is always going to sting a little bit, you know. And, you know, I know my counselor told me one time, and in one of our sessions, he was like, one of our very first ones, he was like, the pain of this will never go away, losing your children. He's like, but the sting will start to fade over time. And you'll go back to, there'll be those days, you know, their birthdays, you know, are gonna sting, you know, for a long time. Holidays are extremely hard. It doesn't seem like Christmas is very merry or Thanksgiving's very happy anymore, because you're doing one thing and you know you should be doing something else. Our plans would have been different, you know, for that day. So, yeah, processing it through, you know, and I'm able to compartmentalize, you know, to run our business and to be here for each other and everything. But it's very very difficult, you know, on certain days.
Let's talk about, I know one of the biggest things that your wife had mentioned was the fear that her babies would be forgotten, or that all of them would be forgotten. What, was that a fear for you as well?
Not until she said it. But you know, really, it's one of those things that I look at, and after seeing their friends and keeping in contact with their friends and how they have reached out and how other families have reached out, just because of the impact and the relationships they had with the boys, they're not going to be forgotten. Those people who were important in their lives, will always remember them forever, and will forever live in their hearts, just like they would ours. I think as a community, I think the boys and Dad can be a sense of inspiration and perspective. You know, I told somebody one time, I don't have a lot to offer anymore, you know, and sometimes perspective is not the best thing, but that's what I have to give you. You know, because we all go through hard days, and, you know, the world's coming to an end days. And we understand that people just see us without even saying anything, and we may not even know that they see us, and that perspective is given. But I don't think that the boys will be forgotten, you know, just because of this community and how involved they were in this community, because Tomball is still a pretty small town, you know, feeling when you get involved in everything. And the things at the school district and the football and the baseball team and the golf course where Hudson was a member of have done. I mean, they've done those things, but a lot of that's for those people involved in those specific things. So them being remembered forever, and in this community, as a part of this community, because it didn't just hurt us, it hurt this whole community. And you know, it's very important, you know, obviously as parents, that they are remembered. But there was never really a fear about them not being remembered, because I knew the impact that they had on people.
Let's talk about what Madison is doing. How does that make you feel?
I know. I mean, Maddox is. Yeah, I was. You know, it brought me to tears. I was in the backyard, you know, talking to them on the phone when they told us, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And just very impressive at the effort he's put into that, and it's also just a testament to, you know, what they meant to their friends, and it's very impressive. I'm very proud of Maddox, and delighted and honored and humbled more than anything that he would even take this upon himself to get this ball rolling and everything. It's really a cool thing.
What do you hope this looks like? What do you envision this to look like?
I don't know. I haven't been able to give much thought about it. It's kind of so new and everything, but what I would like to see would be just a gathering place, because that's what our family was about. You know, this home was for the boys, so this could be the place that their friends came, and we could be involved in their lives and stuff like that. So, you know, I see it as you know, some place that, you know, it's you know, some small event or something like that, and you go to Collins Park or something like that, you know, but just something where people are gathering together and coming together and having a great time. Because I mean, if there's anything that our family does like to do, it's to laugh and to have just good times together and build those memories. And a lot of the memories aren't big significant things. It's just something that happened at someone's house, you know, that was hilarious, or, you know, someone, you know, just anything like that. And so, like, my vision for that is just something that inspires that and has those type of things go on for other families and stuff.
Why is it important for you guys to help other grieving families also?
Well, our counseling was donated to us by some friends. And again, I've never gone to anything like that. And I was just blown away on how, you have to work through different processes of grief. And, and it's very underserved, especially for these young people. They had to deal with some really adult stuff at a young age, at multiple young ages. Going off to college, about to be upperclassmen in high school, and then about to go to junior high. And that's what broke my heart, is seeing these young kids and, seeing them hurt. And, we as parents and everything, like sometimes we don't know how to convey the correct steps, or to help someone when they're working through that, or your own child, because you're hurting for your child. And so that's why it was so important to all of us and our family to help people, get that proper guidance, so you can process. Because it's a life-altering event, and for a lot of people, it's kind of a why in the road of which way you're gonna go and deal and process with this. So it's just it really hit home, seeing all these young people and everything, that this is definitely something that we want to do, whether it's just a tragic loss for a family of any kind. Because it's just, and especially for parents, there's nothing that can prepare you for losing a child. There's not one thing. And I can tell you it's every bit as awful as it sounds.
How do you turn something so tragic into something positive? Like, what pushes you to do something like that?
Well, the kids obviously had a big impact, and Dad had a very big impact on a lot of people. And so you don't want to be remembered in sadness. I don't want them to be remembered in sadness. I want them to be remembered in hope, in comfort. And, this is just a big way to do that, to achieve that goal.
I am joined now by Aniely Ruiz. Truly a heartbreaking story. The first thing that jumped out to me, like so many other stories that we have done, Aniely, this family, despite all they've been to, has decided to reach out and help others. Explain that.
That's right. I feel like their biggest motto, they say, is triumph over tragedy. That's what they said. And they really want to help other families who are also going through similar pain. They want to do this through scholarships for students who have lost somebody that they love. They also want to help families with therapy and partnering with other local families who are also dealing with this pain, because we all know therapy is very expensive, and sometimes those resources aren't really out there.
It's been 3 years. They've probably been through 3 years of therapy.
3 years of therapy, 3 years of grief, but also 3 years of picking themselves up and choosing to live a life every day in a positive way, in a positive light, and to remember their loved ones.
When you first reached out to the family, how long before they decided to talk?
I've actually, I've been talking to some of the people who are part of their foundation, some of the organizers, and the mother herself, Misty. And I think, being able to gain a lot of their comfort and being able to help them and guide them, I think that was what was able to get them to say, hey, we're going to sit down and do this, because we're going to try to make something bigger out of this. And obviously not just remember our loved ones, but also help others.
So you sat down with them for quite a bit of time. What was your sense of how they're doing as you talked to them?
Surprisingly, after going through all of this, they have such a big peace, peace in them, peace that they'll be reunited with their loved ones again, peace that they want to be able to remember them in a positive way and help them, other people, through this entire grieving process.
Yeah, listening to the interview, what stood out to me was that the mother of the 3 boys, she says her boys taught her to be a better person. Being their mother was an honor. She misses the laughter. This really got me. The hugs. Whew. the milestones, the noise in the house. She said they went from all of that to nothing. What do you hope people get from the story?
You know, I think what people are really going to get from this story is how this family, how their strength, how their faith is pulling them through. Because for me, Lynn, the biggest thing is, how do you wake up every day and continue life after losing so much of you, a big part of you? And you know, what really is helping them is their faith and their love for each other. Their strength that this family have is just amazing.
It's, you know, it's one thing to talk about faith. It's another to have it tested and truly lean into it like this family has. And it's truly amazing to watch. You know, we see stories like this and we hear people talk about their faith and we're like, I don't know if I could do that. You know what I mean?
And to live by it. They're not just, you know, talking about it, but they're about it. They're living their faith every day and leaning into it. And that's what gives them strength to continue.
I wonder if they at all talked about Lopez at all.
You know, I think for me, the biggest thing was obviously wanting to know if they forgave. Who did they forgive? And if they forgave. And you know, the biggest thing for them was they know that there were some mistakes made. They know. But at the end of the day, you know, one of the brothers said it best, Destin. He said, you know, there's only one person to blame, but in my heart, I have to forgive. And to me, I was like, wow, what an amazing human to be able to forgive people. Yeah. So I think that was like, to me, the biggest thing. I could not believe just how strong these individuals are.
Is there any anger, frustration with the system, with the TDCJ, et cetera?
You know, they said at the beginning that there was anger, that they did, you know, feel angry with this entire, how this entire ordeal played out. But I think, you know, Dustin said it best, it's the best thing for them is to let it go, because that's only hurting themselves at the end, and they want to continue to live. They have other family to live for.
Yeah.
And, they want to continue to live in a positive way.
Yeah, it's so amazing to hear this. One of the dads said he survives, he told you this in the interview, hour by hour, minute by minute. Mm-hmm. The pain never goes away, but the sting eventually will fade. Is that the sense that you got, that they're doing better because the pain doesn't go away, but you know, they've learned to kind of move forward?
Yes, and I think what's also very important is that they lean on each other. You know, when obviously some people have good days one day and the others will have a bad day, but they have each other for that. I think one of the things that also stuck to me was, you know, the husband Chris told me that there was one time where he just could not, and his wife is like, look at me, I am this mother, I'm the mother of these 3 kids and I'm up, you have to get up. And so like leaning on each other like that really, really helps. But just like they said, you know, they have good days, they have bad days, and there's some days where they feel the grief, they feel the pain even more. And fortunately, I think the biggest thing too that's also helping them is they are in therapy, they're going through therapy, they're actively trying to help process all of this pain. And so I think that also helps.
I know it took a long time, but it was wonderful for you to sit down and let them express themselves. And so we can understand what they're going through and how they're overcoming. Fantastic interview, great work. Thank you, Aniele.
And Lynn, before we go, I think one of the other things that I would like to mention that really helped the family, and I want to emphasize this, is, you know, when they were grieving, so were all the kids that were on their child's baseball teams and other teams. And so they said that they had, imagine a full house of kids laying everywhere because the kids wanted to be there for them. And they said that the push from those students, from the tomball community, really helped lift this family up. The text messages, the Snapchats, the keeping them in the loop. You know, they still go to baseball games and things like that. But it's also a constant reminder of the life that they could have had. So it's like a bittersweet thing for them. Very difficult, but again, they are very grateful for the tomball community who continues to uplift them and keep embracing them and making sure that they're still a part of the community.
The village that wraps them and hugs them to this day.
Yeah.
Wow. Aniele, thank you.
You're welcome.
This was one family's horrific nightmare. The Collins family has somehow found the strength through faith to keep going. Describing her faith, Misty Collins, the mother of the 3 boys, said it gives her a peace she cannot explain. Moving forward, they want to honor the lives lost by carrying on the family legacy of kindness and giving back, and working to make sure something like this never happens again.